All right. Yeah, you looking at yourself.
What up, though? What up, though,
Tight.
everybody? Welcome to it. This is the Welcome to a podcast. If you didn't know that already, I don't know what to tell you. But
We've been doing it so long.
I know, you know what I'm saying? We so deep in the game. Y'all should be with it by now. You should know the intro by heart, because I don't. But nah, this is the Welcome to a podcast where we sit down and we talk to people that either have inspired us in some kind of way or some people that we just admire them and what they're doing on their journey. And we just sit down and we have a real conversation with real people in hopes that somebody can get some jewels out of this or learn something. You know what I'm saying? I'm your host, Lano, and I'm sitting here with the tallest man in every building, Jeremy Pape. Yeah.
Yo, and today we got the cutest crip, the coolest cat,
Hell no.
the chillest cholo. We're only using
cutest
C's. What's another one? You got another one? We got Damien the Architect, everybody. We're stoked. Fuck yeah.
Appreciate it.
Dude,
What's up?
thank you for coming.
Never.
You're the best.
Thank you.
I like to start off every interview just by giving people their flowers. You know, this is like a fun, cool project for Lance and I to work on. And so it's dope that we get to have people that we admire, are inspired by. You know, you carry yourself in such a beautiful way. I've just always admired how you wiggle through life being very authentic to yourself, but also just being such a beautiful ball of love that just like radiates whenever you walk in the room. You know, it's like whenever I
Appreciate
just
that.
really feel it when you come in. And so yeah, I feel like that's rare for rappers, you know,
Yeah.
to be able to like be so authentically loving, but still cool, you know,
Yeah.
and you do that fucking the best.
Yeah, man.
So thank you for being you, and thank you for loving on people and for making incredible art.
Thank you.
Hell
Thank you.
yeah.
Appreciate
Hell yeah.
both of y'all.
Yeah, no,
I'm
Yes.
with the legends.
No way.
Takes one
No
to know
way.
some, right? Yeah, man.
Yo,
The chocolate and vanilla goats.
Come on,
yo.
man. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it. I ain't said. Let the people choose. People chose.
Let them choose.
Yo, let him choose. Well, what's up, dude? What's going down?
Man, I just got back from the Bay yesterday.
Very tight.
So the timing is perfect. Yeah, gas break.
Yeah, come on.
So
Make it look on your
that
face
was
like you
a
smell
that
some
was a
piss,
beautiful
bro.
time.
Yeah.
A lot
Did
of
you-
the time was spent teaching meditation. I was doing 2 sessions a day from 8 to 10 and then 5 to 7
Teaching.
for 5 days straight. Yep.
Yeah.
Teaching a meditation practice and then speaking and having discussion with people with later. And so it was supposed to be 8 to 10, but it more ended up like 8 a.m. to like 2 p.m.
It's a
Sheesh.
lot of meditating.
And then
boy.
from like 5 p.m. to like 11 at night.
Yo.
And the obligations were crazy, so I had to visit a lot of people's home. A lot of people were coming from different places. A family of 10 came from India.
No shit.
Yeah, to see me. So I had to.
What kind of people are doing this?
Only a few of us. Only none that look like me.
Yeah. Hey, that's what tripped me out
yeah.
when I first met you.
Yeah.
And I was like, they was like, yeah, man, Damien's coming through the studio. I was like, oh yeah, I ain't never heard of Buddy. And they was like, yeah, man, he I don't know how they described it, bro, but I was just like, what he does, what? I was like,
Yeah.
he was a crip and he
Yeah.
meditates.
The dichotomy of
I'm
Damien.
like, I gotta meet this dude. And then just like Pape said, like that's what your energy was when I met you too. I was like, oh yeah, this dude, like he could probably fly.
Truly. Yeah.
I
truly.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
You maybe this is jumping around, but I think one of the most interesting things is like you were on a pretty impressive trajectory with your music career, and then you took a pause.
Yeah.
And I guess, can you just tell this story of like you making music to your journey of new you and then back again?
Yeah. In that context, I feel like it starts right before I go to college.
Okay.
I start to get more serious about music. I'm starting to get a little more attention.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know. Because, by the way, especially when I was starting this shit, I used to get so much shit from the Eric the Architect fans. But here's how I got my name. Nobody in the hood listens to Eric the Architect, with all due respect. So we never heard of him. I never heard of him. Had I known,
I honestly
know?
still haven't heard of him.
Exactly, till now.
Yeah.
But homage later.
Yeah.
And this is gonna sound like shade, but we just from Denver.
Yeah, sure.
But anyways, I got my name because our coach, Dave Logan, announcer for the Broncos, got drafted to 3 different sports, one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Sick.
Dave Logan got fired suddenly from my school, Mullen. So the news was there, trucks every day for a week. So one of these days afterward, it was during lunch, they packing up and stuff, and one of the homies is like, "Hey, can my friend rap?" Pointing at me. Dude was like,
Sure.
"Sure."
Yeah. Tight.
So I ended up rapping, and it ended up being cool. And at the end, that was around the time where Super High Five was like, "But I'm not a rapper." So one of the homies said that, and then the other homie said, "Yeah, he's an architect."
Yo.
So when they asked what my name is on the spot, I just said Damien the Architect. And it just stayed, and it ended up on the news.
Yo.
Yeah, for like a week. And that
Right.
was during the hoop season too. So I went out, and kids like from Arapahoe, their parents came like, "Oh, you're that guy."
Damien the Architect.
Yes. Yeah, that's me.
Yo.
So I felt hella good for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it went from that to like feeling like I still got a scholarship to play at Colorado Mesa University to play safety there,
Okay.
football. But I knew.
What the fuck is that, Pape? I got you.
Basketball.
That was a weak ass jump shot.
I'm a
You can tell he
skateboarder.
doesn't. You can tell he watches it.
Is that what the
And hypes
one
his favorite players up, yeah.
Like, that's
Steph,
a little
Steph
floater.
Curry.
That might be a little floater. A little-
He's never actually shot the basketball.
That's a beer pong throw.
Right.
Oh God,
Big facts.
big fact. He's like, that's what you went to college for, right? Because that's why I went to college.
And this.
We're gonna keep that ambiguous.
What school is that?
Don't rewind that, folks.
Yo.
Oh shit.
My bad.
All right. Anyways, we're going.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So football.
It's not a spiritual journey if you don't laugh, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So that happened. I ended up leaving Mesa after having this experience the second semester of my freshman year. It was the intro to business class. The professor asked everyone, "What are you here for?" Most kids answer, my dad did it, my mom did it, it sounds right, all this. I knew what I was like. I knew what I wanted to do, which was music. But I was sitting here with everybody else. That was like the first time in my life I felt like a coward. I was like, I know what I want to do, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So like literally after that class, I went back into the dorm room, Grand Mesa, and I called my mom crying, like, give me a year to make music work. If I don't make it work, I'll go back to school,
Yeah.
Damn.
She got me like a couple weeks later, and I was out.
Sick.
And so probably like, that was like 2014. So from 2014 to 2017, I grinded and put out a whole bunch of mixtapes, did tours in the city, made the right moves outside of the city, and eventually got signed to Empire.
Yeah.
2017 or so. Like I was like 19, 20 years old. And I didn't know nothing at the time, the people around me didn't really know nothing at the time. It happened because of the grind, but it wasn't calculated, so to say.
Yeah.
So, but one thing that happened on the depth of like me taking a spiritual journey is when I signed, I didn't feel the happiness I thought I was gonna feel.
Sure.
And when that moment came, since I was 5, when my dad died, music was like the path to like keep me from grieving.
Yeah.
So when I made I made an idol out of music type shit.
Yeah.
So by the time that I finally signed to the biggest independent label in North America, like really did the odds out of the East Side, but it was so low because I was so low.
Right.
Didn't even make it a thing like I should have.
Right.
But when it didn't make me happy, I was like, I just like went so interior. I went so into my soul, like that was the only thing to do. And the last time I had done that was when I was 5 and had lost my dad. From like 5 to 7 years old, I would just spend hours at a time meditating. Not knowing it was meditation.
Right.
You don't hear that word in the hood, but I look back you know, in hindsight, I would sit with my eyes closed for hours on end just looking for answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's deep, brother. What a journey to becoming Damien the Architect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great name for that.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So within that, what did you know what I'm saying? Like, so how does that transition into you going to like India and doing all these things, right, when it comes to meditation? Because when I met you, that's what you was
Yeah.
at that chapter, right?
Yeah.
Of just like, they like, yeah, he going to India. I'm like, man, oh, this nigga's a monk? What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who is
Oh,
this
God.
man in
Yeah.
here, man?
Yep. To be real, to be
Because
just
you were signed,
Yep.
and you're like, this doesn't feel good,
Yeah. Pretty much.
and you were meditating at home, and you're like, I gotta go somewhere else.
It just started getting more intense. I had this moment. So after I got signed to Empire, I moved to San Francisco to be like 25 minutes from their headquarters, thinking that it was on. But little did I know, like, I felt like no one was there, like, before I got signed.
Right.
And I got a full circle story to share, at least by the end of the pod with that. But, yeah, so it made it easy to leave. And I was already more so like intensifying my spiritual path. So it became like one of those just natural, like, oh yeah, F that. This is just what I'm about to be on. And so in San Francisco on Haight in Asbury, I came across a monk and I talked with him for a little bit. And by the time we got done talking, he looked at me in my eyes, and his eyes were so deep, like ocean deep, crazy. And he looked at me and he said, "Are you sure you're not a monk?" And I swear from like that moment, I like started waking up at 3 a.m., you know, chanting, stretching, exercising, like everything about me just changed and shifted. And honestly, initially, it kind of took me aback. It was kind of like one of those, like, what's happening to me kind of feelings. Because the energy was such, it was just crazy. But later on, you know, like getting to experience my teachers and all the places that I got to visit, you know, culminating with visiting the Himalayas last October to like see my teacher where he stay, you know, because in my tradition of yoga, you got to get initiated into that. You got to work to that. You just ain't coming to the Himalayas.
Right.
You know, so it was over 20 years of training. So I was finally able to go last October, and it was the most crazy experience of my life. But when I left and I got that permission from my teacher to do music and was implored to do it, that's like what gave me just the clarity that I feel like sitting in front of y'all here now, you know, brought about.
Okay, so you go to the Himalayas.
Which was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
This is when he got his powers, Pate. Come on, he went there and got
this
his
is like
superpowers.
I know this feels like an origin story.
No, it is, for real.
Yeah.
Not the origin story.
Crazy. I'm like, oh, this dude got some kind of,
'Cause
he's an airbender now or something.
Because this is after.
That's crazy because that is my sign. I'm
See what
Aquarius.
I'm
I'm
saying?
Aquarius.
I'm tapped in.
Yep. Yep.
Yo.
I'm the air sign.
So but the Himalayas is after spending time in India
Yeah.
because you were there for.
I went to South India first in
Okay.
2022 or something like that. Had the most intense experiences of my life, and then came back and tried to live a normal life.
How long did you spend?
I was there for a month,
Okay.
and so
And what was so intense about that?
man, we were meditating maybe like 12 hours a day or so.
Wow.
And so the physical body hurt, but you get to a place where the threshold extends, the threshold folds, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that journey, that was 8 days. We meditated like 12 hours a day or so for 8 days. And then I did a pilgrimage throughout South India. And a lot of people don't know that we have a lot of African ancestry in South India. It's called Dravidian ancestry, though. So, Dravidian.
Okay.
So you go to South India and you'll see a lot of them is as dark as me and Leno, you know?
Crazy.
And looking at us like, why don't Leno speak Tamil, you
Right.
know?
Crazy.
And then
My bad,
you
y'all.
looking at, you know? So it's crazy once you get there. And then also the thing, like I told my grandma, I said the love and respect for Jesus in India is wild
Really?
because they know, you know, they got a perspective of Jesus that like,
is deeper than
that's deeper than
a
rap.
word. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So I spent time there, and then it culminated with this like celebration called Mahashivratri, which is a Hindu celebration, celebrating the darkest moon of the night, which also celebrating, overcoming your darkest of times into the light. And so, like
It's a religion thing, or
yeah, it's like more a yogic thing, but
Okay.
it falls into religion there. But like 500,000 people show up there.
Wow,
And so
from all over.
From all over the world. So I got to be a part of that. And so
Wow.
that is what rounded out that month. That was my first time in India.
And you were religious, or you knew about religion before you went? Like, what did religion play a role in your life before?
I feel like I've always identified with Christian. I'm just from a sector, a mystical sect of Christianity called the Order of Melchizedek.
Okay.
So my Christianity just ain't churchianity. But ever since I was little, I never saw no problem with Jesus. Jesus is dope. And in the East, when you
Yeah.
go to India, they acknowledge him as one of the greatest yogis.
Totally.
They call him Isha. And Isha is just really a name for the Lord. Ishwara means Lord.
Ishwara.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so for short, they say Isha.
Isha.
And so that's what they call Jesus in India. So that reverence is there. So my religion has always been there. When I like got 17, 18, and like my teacher told me that I would have to relate to people of all different kinds, that's when I started living different places, living with Muslims, living with Buddhists.
Yeah.
Like doing their thing, and it would always be crazy. I would do their thing like it was the thing during that phase in time.
Yeah.
Until I understood, until I became one with it in a way.
Yeah.
And it just continued like that for about 7 years or so. Yeah, up till the Himalayas last year, for real.
Yeah, that's dope.
So did you take pieces of what you learned and kind of make your own thing, or you're just kind of like, cool, that's interesting, cool, that's interesting?
It's kind of like we talk about this in the studio. Like, in the studio, we're open to consciously imitating because we trust that God made us who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you try to be somebody else, you still gonna be yourself.
Totally.
100%.
So it's more like acknowledging that, like, you're gonna be you regardless. The snowflake, they different.
Yeah.
Uniquely, we're all built like that. So it's more so striving through influence and through inspiration. And so I had a lot of those that I took that from, and it took time to integrate this life that I have, like being from East Denver and having the upbringing I did. It's not like a lot of the teachers from India and a lot of teachers that you hear. Like, it's contemporary. Yeah. It's for right now. It's for the homies in the community. Like, they never seen someone embody it like this, and not just intellectually but experientially. Like, really have gone through the trenches of it to like really share it.
Like a full-on experience.
Like a full-on experience.
I always say that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no better teacher than somebody who done been through the things that we talking about, right? Or that you're trying to help people with. Yeah. So I think that's a real cool angle that you come from within that. I'm telling you, bro, I was fascinated when I met you. Then I started hearing your story. Yeah. I was like, man, this is interesting. Like, I ain't never met nobody like this cat. Like, knowing like what the inner workings of the city breed, right? And like, man's a monk potentially. Right. I might be speaking out of turn, but I'm just like, this is dope, bro.
Yeah.
Like, what I would ask you, like, what within that, what has it taught you, like, through taking it to this next, all those levels that you've been in within it, right? Like,
Well, if I may just clarify for the people, like, I accept monk, but in a deeper context. Like, monk is derived from someone who live in a monastery.
Right.
So for us in yoga, like, your internal nature, you are supposed to be your monastery. When you become one with your monastery, you monk-like.
Right.
I lived that formal life. I was initiated into that formal life, but that wasn't my path. My path was to show that grace is available, peace is available, no matter what. A lot of people associate they effort and they choices with their worth, which that makes no sense, because you came here without that.
Right.
So that already proves it didn't need none of that shit to value your life. So really that whole path of spirituality is coming back to that honesty of worth that like God gave you your life, not you. So you take a step back from judging your life so critically. And once this happens, you start to have more capacity for creativity. That's where I'm at with pure potential, you know, for power. You know, like my teacher, Alahima, says, she says, this is a power. Once embodied, this is a power, not over anyone or anything, but just a power in itself.
Right.
And more I've imbibed, you know, what my teachers have taught me, I've seen this to be true, you know?
That makes me think about, like, I work on that perspective, but one thing I think about is, like, how much is too much grace to give yourself? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we have to distinguish grace from leeway.
Interesting.
You know?
Okay, after you
100%.
Tell me more about that thought.
Grace is realizing that you still have your breath right now. If you are able to say that right now. For those who are not able to say, we can't ask them, right? You know, God bless. Rest in peace to them. But as for us who are alive, we all share that context that we're breathing right now. So that's the grace I'm talking about, like the grace of your life to realize, okay, if you're breathing, you have a second chance. And the whole point of like yoga and all that was to show that there's examples from every type of walk of life that attain to a certain peace, you know, and unconditionality within themselves, to where they transcended the limitations of their own mind, their own suffering. Pain happens in time. You know, you run into the corner of the table, fuck.
Right.
But when you run into the corner of the table, fuck, and then it ruins the rest of your day, that's you.
Holding on to the pain.
That's you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a man's creative potential succumbs to survival. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I love that. And so what do you, how do you break that loop? Through meditation?
By being present. Being present means watching the breath all day.
Yeah.
Because one thing you can depend on is that your breath, as long as your life, I got all these obligations and stuff, but you got all these obligations because your breath is still going.
That's right.
Without any of your attention.
100%.
So in yoga, we say the average man takes about 21,600 breaths a day. This is about 15 breaths a minute.
Right.
And so how many of these do we think the average person is, you know, conscious of today?
Right, yeah.
Probably
Zero.
none.
Right.
Yeah.
Little to none.
Right, yeah.
This is what I even said in the meditation sessions in the Bay. Experienced meditators, even they still confessed, little to none.
Right.
And I'm telling them. And so on the other extremity, I'm there for them because they've gone through the hula hoops of spirituality. But when Jesus said, I'm going to send you the comforter, really in Hebrew, that word is Ruach HaKodesh, which translates to holy breath. It literally translates to holy breath. So who's a greater advocate for your life than your breath?
Yeah.
Whenever you've been in a crazy situation and you took the
Yeah.
whatever brought you greater comfort,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
To not
real.
panic.
Exactly.
That's one of the things I live by, right? It's like I believe in what's in you is what comes out of you when you hit or the stuff around you gets rattled, right? And I just think about instances where I've been in some crazy situations, like car wrecks and stuff like that. And they're like, "You all right? You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm good," because it is a breath. Like, and so to hear it broken down like that, it gives even more affirmation for me specifically, and I hope for other people out there, because it's like that's really what it's all about, the moment to moment, and it's the breath that is the grace.
So check this, right? That's what I feel here for, like for reminders and confirmation. Because like what I was telling them in the Bay, I'm not teaching you a practice because this is a life process. You was breathing before you met me.
For sure.
Right.
I'm just telling you to watch it.
Yeah.
Because when you watch it, you see your life is confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
Your life, that's it. Like that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm happy I'm here, because one thing you said earlier, you're like, somehow you make being able to be a rapper and being loving and everything, you know, cool. And it's like, because loving is your nature. Like, I do live by Ecclesiastes 3. It says, there's a time to heal, there's a time to kill. You know, there's a time for everything, you know? So I'm not opposed to nothing. But when you are in love, when you are in favor of everything, you know, most of the time your disposition is
You won't even have to
Rocking.
encounter those things.
defenseless.
That's
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
for real.
Yeah.
And that's got me around the world, around
Yes.
some very poor, very crazy places.
Yes. Yeah. No. Same. I think
Without a doubt.
love is a cool superpower that allows you to. I think that's another tool that allows you to see other cultures too in a more authentic way. You know what I mean? Is like you really get to experience those things. I'm sure you did it because you came from a place of love and not really anything else. You know, not trying to like learn or dissect or any of this. It's like lay it on me, brother, which I think is dope.
So, man, look. So, how's music going now? I mean, now that you done got your powers.
Hold on, can
Oh,
I
my
answer?
bad. My bad. I might be
Because
jumping the gun. Go
well,
ahead, babe.
I think maybe
Powers
the
is
thought I was
crazy.
thinking in between is like you go to the mountains and there's probably got to be a certain level of like, cool, we're meditating, but how much can you change the world meditating? What is that? You know, like, did you think that or like what?
So the way you can redirect me, but the way I heard you say that is like my experience descending the mountaintop.
Right, to be in the world.
So my first experience from the Himalayas was visiting one of my students' grandmas in their family. And so this is my first experience from the Himalayas and all the crazy things I went through there. And my teacher telling me what I'm going to do and all that, and me saying, okay, all right. Still, you know. They lived in Delhi. As soon as they opened the door, I was met with fire. It's called arati. So the fire waving in front of me, the grandmas making everybody in the family touch my feet, flowers are being thrown out of nowhere. I'm thinking to myself, what is this? In this moment, I'm thinking like, wow, this is everything that I tried to run away from, and that my teacher already told me would happen. But it was the first time that I had kind of, you know, like in that hero's journey, I guess you could say, like, where I just accepted it.
Yeah.
You know, because I had run away from it ever since I had come back in 2019 after the experience that changed my life, that really started my teaching journey and stuff. Like, ever since then, students would come and then I would flee. I would go back to silence. You know, I would go back to just quietness. You know, but once I went to the Himalayas, because once I went to the Himalayas, I knew that either I would stay there forever or that I would come back and like have a dynamic life. I knew that I wouldn't be able to hide anymore. I knew that that agreement would be made. So either I would stay there or I was coming here, but there's no in between.
Yeah.
You know, to be dynamic, to be active in my life. So the music relates on a human level. Spiritually, I can't really say anything to my experience. It's very profound. You know, I think the possibility of someone being a total peace of mind while being embodied, you know, having gone through the things that I have gone, I saw that was the powerful thing at the end of night one in my sessions in the Bay just a few days ago, that they started to talk about these different things in the world. And I said, I think that I was meant to endure, like Leno was saying, the experience. That's why I've like always told my students and stuff, like, you always are the opportunity to be an example, not an excuse of someone's life.
Yeah.
You
Write
know?
that down.
Yeah, that's a game. That's a game.
You ain't got to if you don't want to. But I live by that. My dad died when I was young, left my mom, you know, single parent. My aunties died from cancer, you know, young. My friends died. All that happened. The homelessness, all that happened, you know. So I realized I had went through it not for me, because at the end of the day, your spirituality is about finding yourself. And it's a funny journey because you're with you all the time.
Yeah, right.
You just ain't never still with yourself. You just ain't never you hardly ever take a moment to yourself. Once you take a moment to yourself, you realize, wow, I know myself forever.
Yeah.
For real.
You know, type shit.
Yeah.
And that's all it is.
Totally.
So I can still politic with the homies. I can still talk with the homegirls. I can still maneuver in the world, you know. Waking up to yourself don't make you dumb, don't make you, you know, socially illiterate. I think a lot of people become afraid of that. There is a period where it does force you inward, and you do have to decide, like, do you love the world or yourself? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the part people take their time on fully engaging in, because you do got to kind of turn on some warrior energy, you know?
Yeah.
To endure it. But it's worth it.
Yeah. Agreed.
100%. Yeah.
Oh God.
For real.
So the music now that I make is all the homies, is all the ancestors. You know, all the people that came before me.
Yeah.
You know, this is a clear vessel, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So I'm just telling the dead homie stories from here on.
Yeah.
That's
for
dope.
real.
That's dope, man. Yeah.
Do you got a good dead homie story you want to share?
That was the whitest thing Pape said. Y'all need a special for the podcast. Whitest thing Pape said today.
That was a good dead homie story. That was worse than this.
Hey, that was his best Barbra Streisand. No, I'm with it though. I'm locked in for it.
Yo.
No, live to you from white America.
Yo.
What I can share though, there's two, honestly. There's two. There's because one, there's a song on the album called Salt in the Wound. In the last verse on it, to be real, I felt like my homie who passed away, who died in his sleep, rest in peace, Milan, suddenly he died. And when he died, that was one of my experiences where somebody died and I feel like I left it on the wrong note over something dumb. I didn't speak, you know? And I felt all the guilt. And so when this verse was being written, I knew that I agreed with those feelings, but it felt like his revenge, you know? Mm. And so I was telling the homies, I was like, I don't know if anybody ever heard the dead homie, like, arguing with you on the verse before. Mm. And so I wrestled with that for a long time because that was the first time like I made a mistake in somebody else's death, prior to somebody else's death, you know? So I did make it about me, you know, and I kind of felt ashamed by it. And I had to really confront it and address it. Mm. And then another homie, a big homie, Broadway, Maurice, you know, rest in peace. He had got killed in his car, you know, as far as I know, you know, just walked up on, as far as I know. And through healing, I learned that shit had some effects on me that I didn't know. Until I was in a situation, you know, where I was, you know, helping raise this other lady's child and stuff, and I was learning things about me in that I realized, like, wow, every time I sit in the car, every time I sit in the driver's seat, I'm paranoid as fuck. Mm. You know? And then up until that moment, did I realize, wow, because you felt the connection. That's what used to scare me as a kid about death. I'm like, I'm just as equal to the next person. You know, so that shit is scary. Yeah. It's wild, you know?
You start thinking about his wife.
So those were the two stories that I really feel like I matured from, I healed from, to be able to even put this project called Dead Homies out. You know, I had to really wrestle with them. Because when I was going through this period of spirituality, a lot of the homies didn't connect with me. They didn't feel me. I had to change subject a lot, you know, and eventually I had to get away. Mm-hmm. And I had to take that sacrifice, and I sacrificed that relationship. I sacrificed if I'd ever do music again, mm-hmm. you know, for the sake of my soul. But I feel like it's a classic thing where if you're willing to give it away, like Job, like you'll get it back 100-fold. Mm. I feel like that's where I'm at with it now, you know?
Yeah. Sheesh. Yeah.
Great, man.
The project, you're going the Nipsey Hussle route. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, my campaign, My Art is Worth Something.
Yeah.
Hashtag My Art is Worth Something. Also a page on Instagram right now. because it's going to grow. But I'm starting with my product, which is my music, my art. And this project, Dead Homies, is worth something. This got my ancestors in it. This got my life, my genetics in it, my history, stories about my people in it. So I'm not gonna flinch if somebody scoffs at me selling it for $777.
Right.
Like I know my art is worth something.
Yeah.
And I know that I deserve to value my art. Because a lot of times, right, you put work out as an artist. And for me, by the way, you only become an artist once you put the work out. Which is why I have an issue with people sometimes, because this is Leno's life story. This is Pape's life story. This ain't his art. This is something he's seen. This is something he went through that he's now sharing. How could I really interpret that? I can only help but to feel that. Now, if I feel it or I don't feel it is one thing.
Right.
But that people are going straight to interpretation, listening to music is crazy.
Yeah.
So if you're going to interpret it, I'm going to interpret it first.
Yeah.
Because honestly, maybe I'm making a mistake that it's $777. Maybe it should be $77,777.
Right.
But this is where I feel like my faith could take it right now. So I just wanna promote that. I want to start that, and half of the proceeds are going to the Neighborhood Nip Foundation, because it is directly inspired by his legacy, by Nipsey Hussle's legacy.
Yeah.
And we want to pay it forward.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, that's really dope.
I love to work with intention, man. I think you're going to, I don't know where you at in the process of the album, man, but I think you're going to produce something great, brother. That's just what I feel that, really. So.
It's complete.
It's complete. It's ready to go. Locked and loaded.
Locked and loaded.
Guns blazing. Yeah.
It comes out. Are you going to
It's coming out exclusively in July. And then we'll speak about this DSP release after this bonanza.
Okay.
Yeah, after this bonanza.
Yeah. Can we invite people to the bonanza right on this? We'll put this out before so that they can.
Oh yeah, July 10th, 2025.
Yep.
Is the Dead Homies release show
Sick.
at the Black Buzzard.
Yes.
Okay.
At Oscar Blues, Denver.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
And we're going up. The Vortex is with us. Martine, part of the Vortex. Much love, Martine. He's in here.
Hell yeah.
Christian Angelo, King Collip, Chico Bear. He's tight. So we all up in there. And the merch is gonna be cold for the My Art Is Worth Something merch. So y'all got to get some of that. Support us. Support us going forward. Show up to the show. It's gonna be super fun,
Yeah.
because that's what we do. That's what I'm gonna do.
Duh.
But,
Yeah. So
We're making
yeah,
a music video that day
feel
too,
good.
I think, right?
Yeah, and we got a
Word
little
on the
music video
street.
coming.
Word
Yeah,
on the
street.
from the Great Pate,
Oh shit.
tallest man in every room.
tallest man in every room.
Come on, man.
Golly.
So yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. Of all of the things that you've experienced, what do you think was your welcome to it moment? What was that moment that was in your life that you felt like set the stage for you moving forward?
I have two, man. I share two.
Please.
I share one prior to.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was when I first signed the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
But my second one, perfect timing, like right before I got here, full circle. My last 30 minutes in San Francisco, I stopped by to see the homie at Empire. He been engineering there for the last 5 years, grinding. He my A&R there now.
Tight.
And so I meet a whole bunch of people in there. He introduces me to this exec. Been there 15 years. One of the closest friends with the CEO. I'm not knowing this at the time. Long story short, I asked if I could play music. He said he got 10 minutes for me. That 10 minutes turned into 30 minutes.
Sick.
And that 30 minutes turned into something else I'll be able to share later.
Yeah.
Sick.
And I feel thankful and feel blessed that I bet on myself
Yeah.
When I first left Empire, a lot of people thought that was crazy. A lot of people around me thought I was crazy. You know, I was the Dave Chappelle rap. You know, and everybody was reminding me of everything I did accomplish.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna consolidate these games. You just wait and see. You know, I ain't tripping off your word.
Yeah.
You know, patience. People don't know patience. People don't know the power of patience.
Yeah. For
You
real.
know, so they mock it. You know, but I wasn't tripping. So that's where we at with it now. We about to hit them hard. We about to hit them crazy.
Yeah.
Cause like I was telling my mom, me and my mom, shout out to her. She got a job that she ain't got to worry about money ever again. You know, which was my lifelong worry. She got that on her own.
Yeah.
So we both in a thriving, enriched time of our lives.
Amazing.
So we celebrated like 6:30, 6:45. Usually that time where you like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
We holding each other, jumping and hugging each other because I'm sharing this shit with her, and she's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, this ain't smoke. This a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, praise God. I always been able to do it without the qualifications because I always been aware of who qualifies me, you know?
Yeah, man.
And I've always stood on that. And I ended up in the room with someone who stands on that as well. And I think artists should know that there is someone who is in that room that can give them an opportunity who stands on integrity, on principle.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Even though it does seem rare.
Yeah. Yeah, it is rare, but you should see yourself as rare.
Yeah.
And know that rare gonna find rare.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's real.
With the thought of patience, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is like, how do you know, you know, maybe you incorporate meditation into the answer, I don't know, but like when you're being patient for something and when it's time to just move on and be like, all right, this is actually not for me, you know?
Yeah.
There's a couple.
Constantly being 100%. When it's time to be patient, being 100% patient. When it's time to be active, being 100% active. Not letting yourself get in that purgatory, as the Catholics say. Don't let yourself get in that gray area, that in between.
Right.
That's where you get fucked up.
Yeah.
You know, either be here. That's why I tell my students, don't think about time. If you can start your day only sitting for 30 seconds, sit there for 30 seconds, but let it be the best fucking 30 seconds ever. Because the time with yourself don't matter. And so then you learn your thresholds and you learn when they're expanding, you know, when you've reached them with your patience and with your dynamism. So it's more so about 100%. And if you don't feel like that 100% is there to give, that's when people think about effort, discipline, right? And so a lot of people, to me, being like a spiritual teacher, a meditation teacher, they always talk to me about discipline. And I always surprise them because I say, well, who are you a disciple of? Because that word is derivative. So a lot of people want discipline, but they don't know who they disciple to. You disciple to the club, you disciple to the weed, you disciple to the sex, or you know, who are you disciple to? Because that's going to determine your discipline. So you need to check that first. If you check that, life will fall into place. Like life will meet you life is meeting you halfway
Every
for real.
day, you know.
Yep.
Every day, every moment.
Yep.
So it's more so engaging in the life process actively. You know, a lot of us, it's just going by, and our life is more so built on concepts rather than consciousness.
The real effort that
You
goes
know?
into that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I was telling my neighbor, man, he was just quitting his job. He's putting in his 2 weeks to go full on with this family-owned taco shop. I caught him outside, man, and I could see he was like very weary. You know what I'm saying? So I was outside, and I said, man, what's up? You good? He was like, yeah, man, I'm about to put in my 2 weeks. I'm kind of nervous. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been doing this job forever, right? And it's a great paying job. But he was like, I just think it's time that I just put myself into this new thing, right? I think it really wants me. And I said, well, man, all you got to know is that if God's going to fight your battles, the only part you got to be doing is make sure that you out here fighting. Because if you're not doing nothing, there's no battle, right? So I was like, just make sure you in the game. So if you feel like you in the game by going for the taco shop, then God going to do the rest, bro. You just got to be out. But if there's no fight, if you don't choose a fight, then there's nothing for anything to meet you anywhere because you already at where you want to be at.
Yeah.
So it's important to be active, like you said, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where meditation falls in. Sorry.
No, you good.
Yeah. Keep those things glistening.
Papes enjoying that.
Hell no.
Brought to you by the cutest crib.
Chill.
Yeah.
There you go. Now we got merch.
Yeah,
Not the cutest crib merch.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. Fuck
Hey,
it.
my art is worth something too, okay?
Oh God, it is. Oh God, it is. That's where I was saying. That's where meditation falls in, because there is a time to give up the fight. That's where your meditation needs to be incorporated every day.
Okay.
You need to be able to sit with yourself with your eyes closed and there be no fight. That is how you check the progress of your sanity. Again, not by how many thoughts you do or don't have, not by how many feelings you feel or don't feel, but you measure it by the fight.
Yeah.
Once you get to a place where thoughts are there, no fight, thoughts are gone, no fight, you're in a whole nother depth of your place that we're all meant to find, because it's yourself again. But that's where meditation falls in line, and that gives you the balance of life and death. You know, breath we call in yoga pranayama, and in the West they call it breath work, but that's not really accurate. You know, pranayama is this observation of life and death, which is easier found in the breath, right? Because every inhalation represents life, every exhalation. Because the first thing in life you took, inhalation. Last thing in life, everyone will take exhalation.
Wow.
So this is happening every moment. This dynamic, this phenomena of life and death is happening every moment. We're just letting it go by. So, of course, you're not going to have or having a phenomenal life is going to take more effort, because it's going to have to be based on the dream. Dream meaning what you could build. But there's something in you that you cannot build that's already been there, that God has gave you, that you also got to tune into, you know?
Yeah.
So then when you move about, all your movement is more selfless, because you don't need it to give you anything. It's like when a guy is super charitable because he got it.
Right.
He good for it. It's like, oh, it's nothing. Yeah, I
Right.
get your car. Yeah.
Yeah.
It becomes like that energetically.
Yeah. Something that I've been thinking about is like this idea of like the universe keeps bringing you these like lessons or challenges to almost refine you. And I feel like they'll repeat themselves if you don't defeat them.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
We call this, in yoga, we call this sanchita karma.
Sanchita karma.
Yeah. And so sanchita karma is stored up impressions of the past. And so you work your spiritual practice in yoga. If you're Christian, maybe doing the rosary, the Our Father, something like that. Wherever you're from, that's your spiritual practice, your sadhana, your spiritual labor. This is to work down your sanchita karma. In other words, this is like moving a whole bunch of boxes out of the house. You know, clearing space. You're not removing the infrastructure. That's called prarabdha karma. And that's when somebody dissolves, or what we know as die. Once that's touched, somebody, you know, what we know as clinically terminally dies. But the sanchita, anybody can work on just by the process of forgiveness. Because science has found today that actually when you're angry, the brain doesn't know that Pape is angry with Damien. All it's knowing is secreting through the body is toxins, because all it knows is anger. And so more and more, we're learning that this process of forgiveness is actually scientifically the smartest thing, the smartest way to live. And when those neurotoxins is clear, your blood is decarbonated, your cells are oxygenated, you can breathe clearly, you can think clearly.
Yeah.
And so everything that you do is enhanced. Your thought, your speech, your deed, they're all in alignment with each other. You know, when those are off, we call those people not solid, you know, fake, you know.
Right.
So at least you have to have it on the intellectual, on the character place. We all know. This is just moving it into like the infrastructure of it through your meditation and your practice of breath awareness throughout the day, really.
Yeah.
This is the easiest way because you're already breathing.
Right.
You know, so this is the way I offer to people because
Yeah.
it's easy.
You're doing it already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're already on.
Yeah. So a lot of the challenges is almost has to begin with forgiveness
Oh
in
yeah,
order to
Yeah.
overcome like alcoholism or sex addiction or gambling
Right.
or whatever. You have to first identify, apologize to yourself, kind of, and then you can tackle on the next thing.
yeah. Pardoning often happens as a part of people's forgiveness process. But truly, forgiveness, spiritual forgiveness, is not forgiving something that's happened. It's actually forgiving what's never happened. The more and more, and of course, there's to a point you can't speak to this to the person in Gaza and the person in Israel who have just been bombed. You can't say this to someone who just lost their mom or something. That's not the conversation for them.
No.
But the conversation, once you start turning inward, you start to realize how much of your domain is beyond the body. There's this verse in the Bible that is always used at black funerals, but is a powerful verse for us in yoga and Christian mysticism, and it's in Corinthians. It's absent of the body, present with the Lord. If anybody reads Corinthians, Paul was talking spiritually and mystically deep that whole time. He was not referring to somebody dying. So every day, you realize when your eyes are closed, you're immediately present with the Lord. That God really does is an indwelling nature within you. And if you don't tap into that, you're gonna have to make do with what's outside. And that's gonna compromise your energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why most people give up. That's why it's good at the time you cut, homie. You don't give up. You have to keep fighting. Because this existence is a fight. It is. Vibration is quite literally a fight. Silence is the absence of fight. So that's why meditation is hard for most people. Because most people associate themselves with their vibration. You know, once you start to meditate, you become identified with the word of God or silence. And at first it's a little awkward, it's a little uncomfortable because you're identifying with that movement. But the more and more you sink into it, you're like, wow, no, like I'm a part of that. I'm at the end of the day, my eyes is just closed.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
literally what happens to
Yeah.
everybody.
Totally.
On their own time, it's like, oh shit. Actually, my eyes are just closed.
Yeah.
I'm chilling. And then meditation becomes the most beautiful thing ever.
Yeah.
Because then
Yeah.
you're just sitting there like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's like every time you open back up your eyes, your ideas are illuminated.
Yeah.
Just because you chose to think about nothing
Yeah.
for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
It's like they rush to you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's true in my life, probably for you too. Like anytime that you like hit a roadblock or a point in life where you're like, I don't know what the fuck to do. The best thing is always space.
Yeah.
And
Oh
be
yeah,
like,
without a doubt. I mean, just taking that time. I mean, when I think about what you said about patience, right? Like over these last couple of years or something, I've been able to do more and more just within myself of just like, it ain't no rush to do any of these things. There's no rush. There's nothing. Like I like to say, like there's nothing waiting for me other than what's right here in front of me. And so like I've just been very intentional just about staying present. And with having kids that are coming up, you know, teenagers and stuff like that, like my wife was asking the other day, she was like, you just got a certain connection with them that I don't have, and I'm trying to get that. And I was like, well, I'm not going to give you unsolicited advice, but I'm going to tell you what my connection is with them. They just trying to be able to identify with something. And so they see us being the closest thing to them. And so like I have to make sure that I'm open to them and what's going on in their world and kind of come down and tinker around where they at and talk they talk and hit them with some of the old stuff. And because it's like they really trying to find themselves within us. It's their first place. And so I'm like, I'm just trying to give them who I am, be as straight up with them as I can. And I was like, that way they can find confidence in choices that they make. Because I'm just out here making choices. I don't make it feel like I got it figured out, kids. I got it.
Right.
Hell no, I'll be the first one to tell them, like, man, look, man, I'm going to tell you, I'm just making decisions, and then I'm making my next decision based off the outcome of that first decision. And we're going to just do it step by step. But I've had to become patient to be able to do that. Because you can get frustrated, just like with your kid trying to teach you something, and it's like, man, I'm no different in that form. And so I think that's when I think about my time of studying the Bible is like, I resonate the most with like just being childlike, because there's so much beauty in the way children view everything and how they sit and stuff and how they ain't tripping. Like, I'm like, oh, I thought y'all would be tripping. They're like, man, we ain't.
Yeah.
Tell us what you want us to do. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally.
So
Totally.
patience really is a virtue.
Yo, for real.
What you got, man? Huh?
I was curious about I guess the other question I was curious about was like the spiritual world versus the physical world, and like how do you you know, that famous quote of like being in the world not of it type of shit, where it's like, all right, like you're not really serving the world or not really living up to your full potential if you're not in it in some degree. You know what I mean? How do you be present with folks while not taking, you know, you can't be your eyes closed all the time.
Right. Well, first, I took on that challenge of who says it can't. You know?
Okay.
I had taken on that challenge, and that's what led me to meditating with my eyes closed for hours and days at a time.
Yeah, for sure. But imagine if you did that all your life.
But I saw that eyes open, eyes closed doesn't matter. After a certain stage, my breath, honestly, that's how I bridge the physical and the spiritual world, because that's what I have mediating for me. So when my breath is intertwined with the physical, I'm engaged with it. I'm giving my all. That's what my life energy is giving itself to. You know, but as soon as it's not, it's back into itself. It's back into withdrawal. And a lot of people don't have that. So a lot of their energy is leaking. Because we're all at the peak of consciousness being human. So we're literally all at the same place. It's just that people's energies are circuiting so much different one to another. So yeah, my breath, I've really just decided to pay attention to that one thing that people pay attention to the least. That's like usually the name of the game. Like that's usually people's stories when they talk about Apple stock later, Amazon stock later, you know, from the physical to the spiritual. It's all about noticing that thing that nobody's noticing yet and realizing the value in it. And being able to maximize it really through your earnestness and attention. And it'll give back to you. That's how we feel with music, right? With creativity, with art. Like it's giving back to us what we put in. That's how I felt listening to you last time, seeing all the beautiful things manifested for you. And I felt even from outside in, like, yeah, nothing about what you shared or what I've seen seems rushed or anxious at all. It just seemed like you moving and, you know, it's you in alignment. And it's like when you're in alignment, you know, progress does equal happiness for people because we do feel invested in, entangled in time. So naturally, progression is going to have some type of relation to our happiness. It's just that the more refined our sense of progress can get, the more opportunity we have to be happy. It's just that some people have limited where they're going to choose to be happy. And so once they get it, once they get the deal, once they get the car, once they get the girl, they see, oh, that's what I limited my happiness to. Never nothing wrong with that thing.
Sure.
So that's what I came to see after having given up everything, was that there's nothing wrong with the drip, with the fly, you know, light blue, east side shit. There's nothing wrong with it. But I've also lived in rags.
Sure.
You know? Just that dichotomy and yet that balance between being in the best hotel, but I've also lived in the jungle on the wooden floor.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
you kind of come to see that life really is about
And you're the same guy in both places.
right. And it's about your clarity. Like your clarity is 100% up to you. The things that happen in life, no. But just the clarity to be able to say, I just make one decision and after that, that's how we're going to respond.
Yep.
That's enough clarity to move you through the day. Like clarity is your responsibility. So that's what I'll be really stressing these days on myself first, of course, you know?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, that's a great way to move in this world for sure, man.
100%. Dang, this is great.
It's great. I know you want to keep going.
I know. Sorry, go ahead.
Paper cut me off one time. He say, no, wait. I got to ask another
bro,
question.
sorry.
Wait, no.
Lato, you shut the fuck up.
Hey, shut the fuck up. Because I want to
I've
get
got
some
more
of the dead
spiritual
homies.
questions to ask him.
Yeah, I got to ask the dead homie questions. I want to show him my layup.
I'll just be here.
Yeah.
Not the finger roll and then turn it back.
No, I'm loving it, man. This is, I mean,
out
you're
here.
really just making
I'm
it
out here,
easy.
bro.
Really, man. This is like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think the people, me and Pape can speak for this, probably are enjoying hearing this perspective because I feel like that's the beauty in testimony. I think that's the beauty in sharing, right? Like, we all were just talking about how, you know, Jesus, right? And how we think he was just great, right? And it's because what we have are the prophetic stories that are left behind that what this man did, right? And so it's just like this whole life becomes you know, it's an experience. I feel like, and everybody's is different. And so when we can get in rooms and share about that, I mean, that takes us to higher levels, right? To be able to share and hear, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can we relate? Or then how can we understand? So it's one of the two things that's gonna happen when I want to go into a room, right? Like, okay, who can I find here that I can relate with, or somebody can share their story that I ain't never heard, and then I can offer some understanding.
Yeah.
And then it makes me comfortable. I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm at home in a space like this, because that's all I'm gonna do all day. Like, whether I'm saying it in a joking fashion or we having a heart to heart, like I'm just showing up like that of like, what can I give?
Yeah.
And then maybe somebody else got something to throw out there on the table, like, oh, I ain't never heard that before. Like, it's all one big experience for me. So sitting here, I just want to give you another set of flowers, man, because this has probably been one of our best. You know what I'm saying? Experiences sitting in this room with a guest, for sure. So thank you for that.
Yeah, fuck
Thank
yeah.
you.
Fuck yeah. What do you want to leave the people with?
Yeah.
Tell them us about the big ass ring on your finger. Real fast.
The state ring.
Oh, this whole thing.
This whole thing. Football days.
Sick.
Get to flash it as a rapper now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
What I want to leave the people with. My art is worth something.
Come on.
You know, somebody who look like you, who move like you, who been through what you've been through, is pushing a creative business endeavor.
Yeah.
$777. Put the money together to buy one for the family. You know, write it, engrave it in Denver history, Eastside history, Colorado history. You know, and hopefully, Black history. We should all be taking what we're doing seriously enough to value it, and not seriously enough to push the boundary of it. So Dead Homies is coming out July 10th. The show at the Black Buzzard is July 10th.
Yes.
We going super dumb, stupid dumb thick in there.
Yes.
And after that, we're going to do a whole bunch of crazy stuff that y'all going to want to be in tune for.
Yep.
So Damien the Architect, you know, Denver.
Yeah.
Yes.
Arca. You know, it is what it is.
Hell yeah.
We love it, man.
Fuck yeah.
Peace out, y'all.
We love y'all.
Hey, that was good.
Dang, that was.
What up, though?
I'm so excited about